the only thing that could tear down the House of the Dragon was itself.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, it's Dragon versus Dragon in a no-holds-barred throwdown next season. But for now, let's get ready to preamble! It's House of the Dragon Season 1. Remember how our ears pricked up in Season 5 of Game of Thrones when it was casually dropped that the Targaryens had a civil war called the Dance of Dragons? There was a whole civil war with dragons? Why are we watching these people ruin a bunch of weddings? Well, we're almost there, but you can't tell the sides without a program, or 10 programs, that lay out the build-up to war. Let's review. Back when Star Wars was just called Star Wars and not Star Wars A New Hope, a crazy old wizard told a moisture farming kid who wanted to fly that he was the son of a hero of something called the Clone Wars, which just raised so many questions. Since then, the Star Wars franchise has left no questions sit idle, and we got a full prequel trilogy laying out what exactly a Clone War was and how Luke's father broke bad. This brought maybe a few hard truths about prequels. Even if we know that war will be declared, you can't just leap straight into dragon on dragon violence, as much as we would like to. You have to know the sides and why they're so mad so you feel it when, say, someone's dragon gets bit in half. So 100 years or so before a mopey, not really bastard left his secret uncle and family to go sit on an ice wall, only to find out that the world's largest Edgar Winter cover band was descending on Westeros who were too busy futzing over a throne. Instead, there were a bunch of people ignoring the coming of the White Walkers who were futzing over a throne. The more things change, the more they stay the same. In this case, it's all down to King Viserys Targaryen and that age-old problem of hereditary monarchies. He didn't have a male heir after his first wife died in childbirth. Rough. He decided, what's the point of being king if you can't do what you want? And he decided to name his daughter Rhaenyra as his heir. That kind of sticks in the craw of his cousin Rhaenys, otherwise known as the Queen Who Never Was, who was passed over for succession by Viserys because the realm wouldn't accept a queen. If it's any consolation, that turned out to not really have changed. For 8 episodes, we've watched Westeros cope badly with the idea, becoming even worse when Viserys married his daughter's childhood friend because, honestly, look, that might be the most normal relationship a Targaryen has ever had when you really think about it. That wound up producing a male offspring, and the table was set for shenanigans. Shenanigans we've been waiting for, like we were watching Itchy and Scratchy never quite make it to the fireworks factory. The first season spanned the time from when Rhaenyra was a precocious kid with a weird relationship to her uncle, to adulthood where she has a slightly weirder relationship with her ambitious uncle husband, Daemon Targaryen. Viserys, who's been taking his sweet time dying, finally seems to have found death's door. But thanks to some Three's Company level action, there's a misunderstanding. Thinking he's talking to his daughter and not his wife, he gives the impression that he's changed his mind about the whole secession thing and opted for her son. Then, to make sure that everything goes as badly as possible, the small council, who had planned to do this regardless of what Viserys had said anyways, clumsies up the whole thing by messing with the Queen Who Never Was while they rush a ceremony that gets interrupted dragon style. Kinda seems like she's seen this before. Well, she bounces to Dragonstone to tell Rhaenyra the bad news. That is, on top of the bad news she already has when her child is stillborn. She also clears up why she didn't just end it there. It's not her war to start. Daemon apparently feels like it's his to start because he's rearing to go. Sir Eric bringing Rhaenyra her dad's crown seals it. But it's a page from a book Rhaenyra's childhood friend and now stepmom used to read, delivered by Otto Hightower, along with an offer if she bends the knee that gives her pause. They're going to approach this like two drunk dudes at a bar who don't really want to fight but don't want to look weak, trying to see if the other one will throw the punch first. The bad news? She's outnumbered. The good news? That's in terms of people, not dragons. Also, hey, look at that, the sea serpent is awake, and instead of going neutral after all the wheeling and dealing to get him on board in the first place, he lets Rhaenyra know that they control the seas and they can blockade King's Landing whenever she wants. Daemon goes to see if he can aim some wild dragons in the right direction, while the would-be queen sends her children as messengers to find out if the families that would matter in the Game of Thrones in 100 years, the Baratheons and the Starks, are still on board with her original claim to the throne. Rhaenyra's first mistake here is underestimating the boorishness of the Baratheons. Not a thing that the Greens forget as they send old One-Eye Aemon with the promise of some husbands, and a little bit of a grudge about the whole eye thing. This is where stuff just completely jumps off the rails. Lord Baratheon isn't a fool. You don't kill the messenger. This isn't Sparta. But Aemon won't let it go and flexes his giant dragon for a little cat and mouse with Rhaenyra's secondborn and his tinier dragon. In a departure from the source material, it really is just a cat and mouse game. But they forget they were doing it on apex predators who were only letting people ride them. They're still dragons. Luke loses control of Eric's, who gives the massive Vhagar a blast of fire, and Vhagar answers that by biting Eric's in half, prince and all. Now all hope for a peaceful solution is gone. Rhaenyra is big, and credits. Prelude over. No more court intrigue. No more precociousness and stern looks. It's Dragon War time, which is slightly less exciting than Morphin time. But there's another element waiting in the wings. That stoic family we came to love in the Game of Thrones. The Starks have been largely absent, with many of the other houses that were key in the Song and Ice and Fire that Viserys was so worried about, all running around and doing stuff. But the Starks are in the wings, and poised to be a big part of Season 2. Finally, someone's gonna be around to tell us if winter is coming or not. I have a feeling those guys are gonna have some pretty strong opinions on it. If the dragon Daemon was lullabying was Vermigor, then Season 2 also promises a heavyweight championship that should be worth the wait. Vermigor was supposed to be really big in his day, a giant bronze dragon with tan wings. This should just be brutal and totally awesome.